Good morning and welcome to Conversations in Care on Third Planet Network. I am really excited about my conversation today. I am talking to Robert Bowles, and he is actually someone that has been diagnosed with Lewy Body Dementia. And I think we're starting to learn a little bit more about Lewy Body Dementia, unfortunately, because of the autopsy for Robin Williams has brought some light to it. However, it's one of the many dementias out there, and there's some differences between Lewy body and Alzheimer's and some of the other dementias out there. And Robert, our guest, will be talking about that. But let's get this party started. And Robert, welcome to the show. I'm so glad that you got up early this morning to be with us.
Thank you, Tammy, and I appreciate you asking me to be on your show. I always appreciate your show. I've watched several of them and listen to them, and I really enjoy them. There's always good content.
Thank you. I really appreciate that. And, you know, I'm so excited to be able to talk to you, someone that has the diagnosis of dementia. I've worked in the senior care industry for about 18 years, and what I have learned, even our conversation that we had Wednesday, we talked maybe 30 minutes on Wednesday, and what I learned was astounding in 30 minutes from you. And what I was, some of the things I was taught a long time ago, some of the things I've been taught now. So it's really kind of cool to sit down and talk with you and really understand and hear from the horse's mouth, so to speak, what dementia is like. And maybe you can start by telling us a little bit about how, your story. Getting diagnosed, some of the things that you were seeing, that type of thing.
All right. I had just completed serving as president of the Georgia Pharmacy Association in 2009. And in late 2009 and into early 2010, my body began telling me something was wrong. Mm-hmm. I had no clue what was wrong. I went to the physician. Multiple tests were done, physical examination. All of these things revealed nothing. Mm-hmm. I became fearful, though, as the time progressed, that in the mid-2010, my wife has lupus and rheumatoid arthritis. And with that in mind, and how I felt my body was, I felt my body was telling me, I felt a need to sell the pharmacy. I had owned it for 38 years. Mm-hmm. I was not ready for this. I knew that it was going to be devastating. Mm-hmm. Because I had loved on patients, I had cared for patients, I had come out from behind the counter and just had fun with them. So as I progressed, I began to quickly negotiate the sale of the pharmacy to a national chain, and it was completed in December 2010. Mm-hmm. Quickly, I realized I had agreed to go to work for them for at least a year, but quickly I realized that I had lost my purpose in life. I no longer had the venue that I had had for 38 years. I had no opportunity to come out from behind the counter and love on the patients. Mm-hmm. I quickly went downhill. I was placed on an antidepressant within 2 months after selling the pharmacy, and quickly and began seeing a counselor. Within 2 months, another antidepressant was ordered, and on the 11th day of taking it, my body would hardly move. I went to the physician. They immediately started the process of stopping the medication, and within another month, I began passing out. Falling, injuring myself many times when I would stand up, and was transferred to an out-of-town facility and evaluated. At that time, they determined that I had orthostatic hypotension, which meant that when I stood up, my blood pressure dropped, thus the tendency to fall and hit the floor. I reached a point where I was taking 7 pills a day to raise my blood pressure and 2 a day to lower it. And the cardiologist says, I don't know what else to do. I'm going to send you to a neurologist. On my first diagnosis, I was told I had Parkinson's. Went back in a month and was told you don't have Parkinson's, you have frontal temporal dementia, I believe, but I'll send you to a memory and cognitive clinic where they will be able to accurately diagnose us. And it was on my first visit in June of 2012 that I was told that I had Lewy body dementia when I went to the cognitive and memory clinic. And that was quite a shock.
Mm-hmm. Absolutely. Why don't you tell us a little bit about Lewy body dementia? Because, like you said, it's kind of hard to diagnose. It can mimic things such as a mental illness. It can mimic other types of dementia. So maybe you can tell us a little bit about what Lewy body is and what kind of makes it different from the other dementias.
There are several core features, I think, that we see in Lewy body. And of course, one of the first ones is visual hallucinations, and this often occurs early in the disease process. Shortly after I was diagnosed, I began seeing puppies in the bed, I began seeing babies in the bed, I began seeing the molding on the door would be crooked, and it really wasn't crooked, and all those type things. There's fluctuations in cognition, and this can vary widely. Mine was not as significant then as it is now as far as the rapidly fluctuating changes in cognition. So that's a progressive thing. Slowness in movement is seen often in Lewy body, and usually it's referred to, I think, as Parkinsonism or Parkinsonian features of the disease, the stiffness and rigidity. Often we see sensitivity to medications, especially with some of the antipsychotics that historically have been used to treat issues in dementia, persons with dementia. And some of those medications can be quite devastating if given. Other medication sensitivities can occur, and in fact, I've had many medication sensitivities. I just came off of one that took me 2 months to get overtaken.
Wow.
Often REM sleep disorder, rapid eye movement sleep disorder, and physically acting out dreams. Shortly after my diagnosis, I began acting out. I only acted out one dream, but it was quite funny, and I'll share it with you for a little humor. My wife said she tried to stop me from rolling out of bed twice, and she was successful. On the third time, she was not successful. And she told me later that I hit the floor with both feet, threw both arms up in the air, and hollered out, "Boy, I hit a home run then." So I don't know where I was playing baseball. I don't know what I was doing. Often a person with Lewy body has more problems with complex mental activities, such as multitasking, problem solving, and analytical things. And this it's not unusual for this to be more common, these features to be more common than memory issues. Mm-hmm. You know, memory is a component of Lewy body dementia, as we would expect, but oftentimes these other features are more dominant.
So is that, Robert, was that something that showed up when you were a pharmacist, that you're having those issues with the complex thinking?
No. I had always been able to multitask anywhere from 6 to 10 things at a time. My mind bounced all over the place. I'd always had trouble sleeping for years.
Okay.
Because I couldn't flip the switch in my brain to turn off my brain, and I just didn't sleep well.
Right. Wow.
And I had my first medication sensitivity back in 2005. That was significant.
So, so when it comes to the medication sensitivities, is that something it's unique to each person with Lewy body? So what I mean by that, you could be sensitive to one type of medication, but somebody else could be sensitive to another type, or is it pretty similar along the lines with someone with Lewy body?
Well, first of all, we know that the old traditional antipsychotics should not be used. Mm-hmm. And that's the Thorazines, the Melorils, the Haldols, those type medications should not be used in Lewy body. But even some of the others can be problematic, and that seems to, from my observation, seems to vary from comments people make to me that it differs from one person to another. Even some of the Parkinson medications can be problematic for someone with Lewy body. I first took one of the Parkinson medications and had no problem taking it when I was first told I had Parkinson, and it was stopped in a month. And then the neurologist at the cognitive clinic about 4 months later wanted to start it back, and I stopped it within a week because I didn't like how it made me feel.
Oh, wow.
My most recent one that really popped me was to large doses of oral steroids. And of course, you don't read anything on that. I've never read anything, but it actually what happened was every symptom I had got worse. And I talked with my internist, and I even talked with the nurse practitioner at the cognitive clinic this past month. And my thoughts were that it probably was what caused it, and they confirmed that was most likely what happened.
It's amazing to me, the different things that you have to go through on a day-to-day basis, and I'm sure that when you got this diagnosis, that it was, and I guess I can't really say, I guess that's part of the question is, getting this diagnosis. What was it like for you? What was it like for your family because as you go through this list, it's a lot of small things, but they can be very large things that can really wreak some havoc throughout your day or progress as you move along.
Yeah, Tammy, I was surprised after I was diagnosed, and I don't remember what period of time had elapsed, but I always refer to the Lewy Body Dementia Association's website. There's incredible information on that website. It's lbda.org, and they've got a list of diagnostic symptoms that they published. I realized afterwards that I actually had almost every symptom that was there, which is probably a little bit unusual, I would think, but all of mine hit pretty much at the same time. Within 6 months of each other, I had experienced them all. But really, when the diagnosis occurred, I left the clinic, and when I got in the car, a couple had driven my wife and I to Atlanta, and I told them it is what it is and everything will be okay. Now that was a bold statement to make, that later I realized, everything's not all smooth and peaches and cream. Because I think what happened was I was at so much peace for finally having a diagnosis, because I had spent 18 months getting there. I had been to 8 doctors in 18 months. And, so I was thankful to get a diagnosis, but when reality sets in, you realize that life has come to a standstill, almost, and you realize that your plans that you've changed, and we can talk about those later, but the things that you thought you wanted to do. But really, after diagnosis, I began sleeping 14 to 20 hours a day. I was really progressing rapidly at the time of diagnosis. I think it probably made the diagnosis very easy because I was progressing so rapidly. Shortly after the diagnosis is when I began hallucinating. That's when I began dream acting, all those things. The falls increased, all of those things. And it just becomes very complex because the cognition can change on a dime. I used to have time to prepare. I'll give you an example. I stopped driving in 2012. My wife said, "I think you need to stop." I reached in my pocket and said, "Here's the keys." And but later, several months later, I told her I thought I could drive to the post office. I got real brave and told her that. And tears in her eyes, she says, "I'll let you if you'll call me when you get there." And I did, and I did fine and bounced back. And really, I've had 2 good years. Even it going through sleeping 20 hours at 14, 16 to 20 hours a day and all the hallucinations, those 2 years have been good. It doesn't mean I don't have problems. They're just different sets of problems. The motor dysfunction is more pronounced. There are times when always now when I go to the bathroom at night, I have to use a cane or a walker because the balance when I wake up is so askew. During the day, it comes back, which is interesting. But and then all of a sudden, I quit driving this year again because the lack of time warning that I had that my cognition was changing was too much. And it just got to the point, and I voluntarily, I just told my wife, I'm through driving, this is forever. And that's a tough thing to do.
It's a very tough thing to do. I mean, that's, it's what makes you feel very independent by being able to drive. But I think, I applaud you for being able to make that decision on your own, but also realizing that it could also not be just you that you harm when you're in the car. It could be someone else. So, and to be able to realize that, I think that's wonderful. And I have a bunch of questions brewing in my head, but the first one I want to ask you is tell me about your family. When you got the diagnosis, how was it with your family, and how has it been with your family?
I'm thankful that we have a strong family. When you look at statistics, they are astounding at how families disintegrate with these diseases of dementia, especially. I'm thankful for that, and I think that's made ours easier than what it might be in some cases. I have a very loving and caring and supportive family that are with me to the bitter end, and for that I'm thankful. But when I like to think about my wife, that's who's special to me, and really, I could see her life just being put on hold because she devoted every ounce of energy she had during that time I was down to taking care of me. She would wake me up and tell me I needed to eat. That's the only way I would eat. She drove me everywhere. We constantly went to doctor appointments. I think the beauty of it, what we have experienced to this date, is a couple of things. I feel Judy and I are closer together than we've ever been in 44 years of marriage. And I think that's remarkable when you face a diagnosis like this.
Absolutely.
But I have more time to spend with family. Historically, I had worked anywhere from 60 to 70 to 80 hours a week. That can produce some regrets in your mind too. But I'm thankful for the time I got. I used to pray that I would hope God would give me time to get my life in order. And I feel like I've been given that privilege.
And I'm sure too it was a transition for your wife to have you around the house all the time.
Well, it really, I always thought it would be difficult. But what I found out, it was not that difficult, because even when I started doing better, I picked up a lot of my dad's traits. And my dad was probably very key in preparing me for my diagnosis. And of course, he had vascular dementia, but I saw how he acted, and I said, if I get there, I hope I can do some of these things. And so my dad was I remember well, he would wash dishes, he would cook, all that stuff. I never did it. Now I wash dishes, I cook, I do all these things that I never did. So, and with Judy's health like it is, that takes a burden off of her. The thing I think that's bothering me the most right now, though, with her is that she went to the orthopedist this week and found out she's going to have a shoulder replacement. So that's not good. So we got to try to get it out of the way so she can have time to heal.
Right, right. And I think it's amazing. And this may be for another show for us to talk about, but I think it's interesting to see through your eyes what the life of a caregiver is like, because I think us as caregivers, and I liken myself as a caregiver because I work with my son who has type 1 diabetes. And I think what I see and what he may see as me as a caregiver is a very interesting topic for us to discuss. And I remember you and I were on a show with Gary LeBlanc, and that was one of the things that really has stuck in my head is what you've been able to see and witness in your wife as your caregiver. And I think that's also something that's really important for us to understand and learn more about. And I know this is something that you know, I'm curious, with you and your family, are you guys journaling any of this? Are you recording any of this? Because I think the story that you have, and also with you having family members that you took care of that had dementia, now you have such a unique viewpoint. So are you keeping track of all of this?
We're trying to. I'm in the process of co-authoring a book, and I'm fortunate in that my college roommate went on to medical school, and he's a professor emeritus at a major teaching college, teaching medical school, and we're going to co-author it together. And I hope that I can bring some of these insights in because they are so important. I'm thankful that we as a family can sit down and talk about the triggers that I can share how I feel as a result of something happening. And it doesn't come easy because we're all creatures of habits. And it takes time to break those habits. And
Right.
sometimes my stick of dynamite can get lit pretty good.
Well, having worked in so many nursing homes and memory care communities, um, I'm seeing a change in the face of dementia, and I'm seeing a change in so many things in evolved around dementia. And I think the more that you have that ability and that the comfort level to talk to your family, talk to your doctors about these things, the more that we can learn and the more that we can understand how can we be helpful to you in those types of situations. So, and and I'm going to take us around to another topic here really quickly, because as I said, as I'm seeing the change in the face of dementia, what I'm seeing is that there's more people like you that have dementia, and you're starting to speak out about dementia. To me, this is absolutely phenomenal because by you sharing with us what you're going through, the things that I'm learning, the things that I thought I knew and understood about dementia, there that whole thought process is being cracked open, and I'm really looking at it totally different now. Do you think by being so open and being so active in the community and being an advocate out there, do you think that's helping you in regards to maybe dealing with dementia and your progress with the disease?
I was hoping you would ask that question. I think it has made a huge difference in my life, because I found purpose. And I found that purpose in August of 2013. And that's when I really accelerated my improvements. I did a Lewy Body Dementia awareness event in Thomaston. We've got less than 10,000 people in the city. We had over 1,000 people at the event. I was able to put it together. They tell me something's wrong with me, I think, because in less than 4 hours, I structured the event one night in the middle of the night. But it just all came to me crystal clear. I told my wife and family, I said, this event will go worldwide. And they looked at me like, you are crazy. And I said, no, it will. And so the local newspaper did an article about the event and about my story and all on the front page. the North Africa Financial News Network picked it up and carried it and had over 1,500 views.
Oh my goodness.
And my daughter is in a group called Teachers Pay Teachers, where they sell lesson plans on the internet. She got some of her colleagues to donate one lesson plan, and they put together a package where people could get all 25 lesson plans for a $25 contribution to the Lewy Body Dementia Association.
Oh, wow.
They raised $11,000. People in U.S., Canada, Australia, and New Zealand gave money. So that was a good jump start for me.
Well, and you're also involved in something called Dementia Mentors.
Right.
And and I think that I think that's a fabulous program, and maybe you can speak just real quickly about how that's kind of helped you as well.
Dementia Mentors is an awesome program. It's got a website, dementiamentors.com. The program is such that you can go online and request a mentor, and you will be given someone that in all likelihood has the same type dementia that you have, who is requesting it. And I think that's incredible. I've had the opportunity to mentor LBD persons all across the United States and then even into Canada. And it's quite rewarding. I have someone from the adjacent county that comes to my house almost every week for us to chat. So there's also 3 to 4 minute videos on Dementia Mentors, to where you can hear firsthand with a person with dementia talking, sharing things in their life and how they're able to live and get through those things. And that's an incredible, it's an incredible website. I challenge people and encourage them to visit it and sign up to become a member.
I do too. I think it's a fabulous website. I think it's the being able to understand different dementias through someone else's eyes that actually has that diagnosis is extremely powerful. And there's one other thing before I let you go, because we're starting to run out of a few minutes time here. Mm-hmm. So I want you to talk about the Facebook group that you have. Oh. That's really, I think it's a great thing that you've put together.
Forget Me Not is an online support group. It was started by Harry Urban in Pennsylvania. Harry, in January, will be 11 years into Alzheimer's. Oh. He's an incredible man and has done a remarkable job with this. But he asked me about starting a Lewy Body Dementia page on Forget Me Not. And here we just share our experience, strength, and hope with the help of helping each other. Persons with dementia, with LBD, other dementias, care partners, friends, whatever, can request joining, and they can just search for Lewy Body Dementia or Forget Me Not Lewy Body Dementia, either one, and you'll see it pop up on Facebook. But it's growing by leaps and bounds, especially since the tragic death of Robin Williams.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I'm a part of that group, and I enjoy being a part of that group as a practitioner, because I learn so much from the things that you share with us, the things that the other members share with us, because anything that I can learn to be able to help people in the future is really what I want to be able to do. So I want to thank you for being able to put that together. And if you look underneath my head right now, it says Forget Me Not Lewy Body Dementia. So if you go online, go onto Facebook, search that term, that will pop up for you. So, send in a request. I know that Robert will get you involved in that group as quickly as possible. So, Robert, one last question for you. Would you be willing to come back on the show?
Absolutely. I always enjoy talking with you. You're easy to talk with, and I'm thankful for the work that you're doing and for your openness to talk with persons with dementia and get the insight from them, because I think it's so crucial.
Thank you. It's the interesting thing to me is over the past 2 years I've learned so much, not being in the industry but talking to people through the show. And between you and also Michael Ellenbogen, I've learned a lot about people that have dementia. And my hope is that I really want nursing homes, assisted livings, memory cares, independent livings to see all this stuff and to talk to you. If it's not you, someone else with dementia, actually have that conversation with them, because I think there's so much to that. So maybe when I bring you back, we can talk about one of my newest favorite topics that I'm trying to do some more research on is really having dementia-friendly businesses and dementia-friendly cities. So maybe that's something we can kind of talk about.
I love that. I'm working on that myself now.
Well, good. Maybe we can pull our resources together to do that.
Sounds good to me.
Wonderful. Robert, thank you so much for being on the show this morning. I really appreciate it.
Thank you. I appreciate you having me.
You're
Bye-bye.
welcome. Bye-bye.